Welcome to the Pretty Confident Podcast, where we embrace authenticity, own our worth, and build unshakable confidence. I'm your host, Sierra Renee, so let's dive in. OMG, you guys, we are finally here to my official podcast setup corner. I am so freaking excited, you guys. Y'all don't know how much planning. Well, maybe y'all do because you guys always hear me talk about it when I was like audio only, and now I'm visual, and I have now 4 different episodes with 4 different locations. But you guys, this is our home. I'm so freaking excited. If you like the setup, if you follow me on Instagram and you've seen the setup come together, definitely drop a pink heart emoji in the comments. If you're only listening to this, no shame, no shame in your game, but you definitely need to go tune in to the visual podcast episode. Now, this is being uploaded later than normal just because I definitely wanted to give you all the final setup, and I didn't want to like feel rushed to do it because I was waiting on my little light to make sure, it looked a little bit more scenic. And obviously, my Instagram folks, thank you so much first off for following me on Instagram and being on this journey with me. If you don't follow me on Instagram, that is where all the live updates go, whatever I'm doing for the podcast, whatever is going on for the podcast, that is where it gets uploaded. You guys, I can be my true, authentic, loud self in this corner because I'm not worried about, the next door neighbors. I don't have to worry about that because I am in my corner of my room. Okay, I am so freaking happy. If you love this setup, like I said, drop a pink heart emoji in the comments. If you're listening to this and not watching, definitely tune in to the YouTube video. I know this is Friday, so the audio is being uploaded around 8 a.m. Friday morning, and then the visual will upload 5 p.m. Friday night. So you guys tune in. If you are only listening to this, whether it's Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, tune in to the YouTube. You guys are going to love this setup because I am super excited. I love this setup. And you guys, I feel like whenever I love something, I just like project. Like, come listen, come watch, come enjoy this view with me. You guys, I am so excited because this has been over a year in the making. You guys know that we just had our 1-year pod anniversary, July 15th. And so to debut that anniversary, we did a visual, but I didn't have everything that I wanted exactly how I wanted it. Like how all of this looks, it was not like that on that first episode. So thank you guys for bearing with me. If you gave me a chance on the first visual podcast episode and y'all was like, this ain't a vibe, I don't know, baby, this ain't a vibe. Thank you if you are returning and you're watching this. Thank you so much for giving me another chance to kind of set the vibe, set the tone. And yeah, so I hope you guys have your blankets. I hope you guys are in a comfy spot because you guys, I have just something not sentimental, but y'all know I am 100% with y'all through and through. Okay, so we are going to get in the nitty gritty of today's episode, and that is having the confidence to confide in your partner. Now, with this being visual, you are going to see my little puppos pop in and out. Like right now, we got Bentley in here. He doesn't know how to stay away for too long. Benjamin, he is in my fiance's spot on the bed, and he is knocked out. Like when I tell you, gone. But yeah, just having the confidence to confide in your partner. I definitely wanted to touch on this just because this is something that just recently came up. Excuse me, with something that I'm watching as well as in my personal life. So when I say having the confidence to confide in your partner, I know a lot of people get in this headspace where they don't want to bother their partner with anything. They don't want to overbear them with their own issues because they may have their own. But when you are able to confide in your partner, it's not making their problem or your problem their problem or bearing them with, a heavier load than you think they can bear. It's more so of making sure you understand that exactly what I just said. You have a partner, and a partner is supposed to help you navigate through areas and things in life and make sure that you know that you are not alone. You have somebody to confide in and kind of go through that situation with. And so I know I have struggled with gaining confidence, with having confidence and confiding in my partner because I thought, there's a difference between being a strong, independent woman versus learning and knowing when to not be strong and independent, right? Like, we always, like, especially black women, my black women gather here. We always know that it's always kind of put on us to always be strong, always be independent. Don't rely on anybody to do anything for you. And when we grow up learning that and it's so bent or, kind of harped into, sorry, you guys, I was recording on my Ray-Bans for whatever reason and I don't know what's going on with, okay, cool. But when it's embedded in our brains and our DNA as we're growing older, especially if you're living in a single mother home, like being raised by a single mother, you always see that strong independent black woman that is able to do everything. But in some capacity there is something that we're not doing for ourselves, or we just had too much on our plate and we are spiraling, we are crashing because we feel like we don't have any help. And so if we feel like we don't have any help, we don't reach out to the people that should be there to help us, right? So being a strong independent black woman, going through different and difficult relationships as I was leading to my grand my grand proposal with my fiance, I had to mitigate always having to be viewed the strong independent black woman. There are still some things that I'm prideful in and I do not ask for help when certain things come up, but one thing I know I can do is confide in my partner, and I feel like that is the best motivating factor. It's just like the best level of trust that you can have with somebody when you can confide in them with your problems without feeling the need to skew any information or skip over certain things or, kind of sugarcoat certain stuff. I know to the best of my knowledge that I can be 1,000% just upfront with my partner and vice versa. I feel like there's nothing that we kind of hold back from each other. And in certain ways, there are like times where it's like, oh, wait, that's a little harsh to, hear. So, thank you for saying it. Maybe there's, something that I need to kind of step back with and take this home and kind of, just think on it to see, okay, why did this trigger me a little bit, or what can I do to help? Because at the same time, although you want to confide in your partner, maybe you don't want a resolution right then and there. Maybe you want some time to feel your feels. And then maybe other times you want a resolution right then and there. And maybe other times you want to feel your feel and then reconvene and be like, hey, what, opinions or advice do you have for me? Because you have to realize that just like you have gone through everything in life that you feel like you've gone through, but there was a time before this person that you've experienced different things, it's the same way for that person too. So don't try to limit their knowledge. Don't try to limit, the advice or knowledge that they could give you just based on the time that you've all been together. Now, if you haven't built up that relationship yet to where it's been like, okay, like I feel like I could confide in you. I feel like you won't, run and tell people my business. All of the things you won't, turn around and use this against me. If you are still at the point where you are trying to build it up softly and slowly, okay? I don't want you to say, well, Sierra from the Pretty Confiding podcast told me to confide in you and you're just doing A, B, C, D, like opposite of what she said. If you have not built that trust, I want you to take things as slow as you need to, but not to the point where they've proven themselves to you in different aspects. I'm not telling you test them, but in certain situations there are things that can be proven and kind of be able to see without having to put somebody through a specific test. So if they have proven to you or you have substantial evidence that you can trust this person, or if you're just leaping out on faith to trust this person, Be able to do it with the confidence of your heart. Sometimes it's going to be scary. It's going to be, patchy for a little while, just get into that point. But if your partner is there for you 1,000% and they make that known, what's the worry? What's the issue other than your trust issues and you not thinking that you could trust in this person? So the reason I said that, a couple things. First, I'll go off some stuff that's not related to me, and then I'll wrap it around to things that do pertain to me. So the first thing that this really came up to me in is, my reality TV show that I watch. I love reality housing TV shows, okay? The ones where they're fighting and bashing each other and the violence. No, thank you. So I watch the uppity up reality TV shows. So the reality TV shows I'm watching right now is Selling Sunset. It's a reality TV show in, I want to say LA. I wouldn't say LA. And then the other one, which is kind of just a spinoff of that one, but a different realtor group. Well, no, it's the same realtor group, but a different realtor office that, reports to that same two owner brothers, whatever. So the one that I'm watching right now, Selling Sunset, the girl found out, or some information was brought to this female on the show, this woman on the show, that her husband was caught kissing another female in the lobby of, I think, an apartment complex or a hotel residence, something, somewhere in the lobby, kissing out, making out with another girl that's not his wife. Okay, so the information was brought to her, and I don't know, because they don't give us like timestamps of, oh, this was brought to you this day, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later. They don't give those type of like timestamps. It's just all running consecutively. So you don't really know when she found out versus how long she's going without communicating with her husband. So she felt like everything was fine. She felt that there was something off. But when she found out, she cried or whatever. And then it went several episodes of her crying and feeling like she's going through all of this alone and this, that, and the other. And I understand. Let me make this clear. I understand that people need time to process things, but when it comes to a marriage and kids are involved, I don't want to say too much because, like I said, I don't like to speak from, situations and areas in life that I have not, been in myself. But I feel like when it comes to two people, sorry y'all, I forgot that when I hold up the peace sign, my gimbal has gesture thingies that it monitors, and so when I hold up the peace sign, it stops and starts the video. Whatever. When I hold up my palm of my hand, it starts to track my face, all of the things, okay? But anyway, I should have turned that off before I went. But I feel like when a situation involves two people, especially in something as sacred as a marriage, and you all have two kids, that is something that needs to be discussed. I don't care how long you need to process. It needs to be discussed, but I feel like it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later, so you feel like you're not going through this heartache and all of these things when it's not true. But if that man loves and adores his wife, one, he wouldn't have stepped out, right? And two, when she brings it to him, because I haven't gotten as far as, oh, she's talked to him about it, because it's been like 2 3 episodes where she just has not said anything to him. She's just crying in her friend's arms. But that is something I would have went home and took to my man that same night. I heard X, Y, and Z. Is this true? And if you love her and respect her enough, which I can't say you love her a lot and you can't respect her enough because you went out and stepped out of her, if this is true. But if it is true and you've already done it, at this point, all you can do is fess up to it. All you can do is be honest in that point. Do men lie? Yes. Okay. So I'm not saying like if he says no, just like, oh my goodness. But at that point, I would be on guard because I don't want to say there's no reason that a female should be coming to me telling me that you're cheating unless they really do truly see you cheating. But the individual that brought this to somebody that ended up telling her, they're not friends. Okay. Like the two girls that colluded with the information, they're like friends, but they're not besties. And then the girl that was told hasn't had the best of past with the end of like with the female that is involved, like with the girl that her husband may or may not be cheating, allegedly is cheating. Okay, so to that point, it's like, is this the truth? Is somebody just trying to get screen time because this is reality and all of the things? Well, I would do fact checking. If you're not hiding anything and you're not cheating, let me see that phone. 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 Okay? Because there's no way that older men are learning different ways to kind of sneak around and cheat. Okay, there's at some point messages, pictures somewhere in that phone that you are hiding that is evident of you cheating. So let me see that phone. But if I feel like if it has to get to that point, my trust is already skewed. Okay, but if I already feel like something is off and then I'm being told this, okay, there's an issue going on. But at the end of the day, confide in your partner. I feel like she went so, like I said, I don't know the length of time that she went without discussing with him, but like I said, it was 2 to 3 episodes, which go on multiple days, that she was crying to her friends and they kept asking her, well, have you talked to him about it? Have you talked to him about it? Have you addressed it with him? No. I'd rather go ahead and figure out if it's true than sit there, lay there with the man in the bed, because it's not like I'm going home anywhere else. Okay? I'd rather discuss it with him right then and there so I can figure out if it's true or not. Because one, if I already know something's off, okay, it may be true. Let me ask. But I feel like with me and my partner, I'm talking from my point of view. We already have a cut, seal, deal, whatever. We know if either one of us cheat, that means that you are done with this relationship because I'm not taking you back. I'm not forgiving. You can go ahead and step out the door, okay? Because if you are going so far to cheat, that means that one, you are not getting something from this relationship that even after you cheat, you're not going to get anyway because now additional things are gone from the relationship. But that's just a broken sign of trust that you will never get back. You went behind my back to sleep with somebody else. Emotional, physical, mental cheating is still cheating. I don't care what anybody's. Oh, well, I didn't sleep with her. Okay, well, did you give her time that should have been given to me, that shouldn't have been allowed to her, that is a privilege that your wife, your partner should only have? Like, there are certain things that you don't feel comfortable doing with a female if she's not your significant other. And if you feel comfortable, there's an issue. Okay? But that's where I am with that. It's just now I still need to like watch the episodes to see how long she goes without kind of conversating with him. But like I said, once we are in a relationship, I want to figure out what the truth is right then and there. If you say that you didn't cheat and I feel like you haven't cheated, okay, I'm gonna trust you. But if you have proven to me time and time before that you would cheat, or that you have, that wandering eye that you could potentially cheat, and now things are rocky with us, and you can feel a woman's intuition. You can feel when your partner is being different. And I feel like men cannot keep up the facade too long, okay, before it's like, okay, something is definitely off. Or when they're being a little bit too nice, when they're being a little bit more laid back than normal, something is off, okay? Something is off. Like out the blue, something is off. Now, people can, work themselves up to change, but out the blue, change it like that, something is off. Okay, so now on to how having the confidence to confide in your partner kind of resides with me. Is, I think I've told y'all before, when me and my fiance had first gotten together, I was more so worried about building him up to the point where I wasn't worried about how things affected me in that process, right? And so when I was doing all of that, we've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, we've met our goal. Like, you got some credit on your account, you got some, like you got a car, you got this, you got that. Okay, so now what's next? You have to realize putting so much into somebody else, if they care, if they notice, whatever, they are going to want to return the favor. They are going to realize that you have been putting so much into them that you have stopped worrying about how things affect you, what affects you, all of the things. Like, how you helping them has kind of taken away the time and momentum that you've really been putting into yourself as well. So, the biggest thing that I've never kind of like had to do in a relationship, because I've never had like a serious relationship whatsoever before him, was discussing the things that I needed, discussing, my my financials, like things that I need help with, things that he could take off my plate so that I can put energy, time, and money into other things. And so it kind of hurt my feelings when he was like, you like, what do you need? And I'm like, nothing. And so he was getting frustrated because I wasn't telling him anything, when he knows, he could see, he knows all of the time and energy and effort that I put into him, that it was taking away from me. And so I never had that, so I was uncomfortable. And then on top of that, he kept asking me, what do I need, how can he help me? I'm like, you can't, there's nothing that I need, there is something that you need. There is something that you are struggling with that you are not telling me, and I can see it. I can see the weight on your shoulders. I can see how picky you are with finances here and there. I can see it. So in any way, if there's any, I don't know if I can help if you don't tell me, right? And so that's basically what our conversation was. I had gotten an attitude, and you guys, one of the biggest things in relationships whatsoever is being able to talk about finances. Finances is maybe one of the leading causes that people get divorced, break up, whatever, aside from cheating. Okay, like let's say everything else went right and you only had like finances was the only thing. That is one of the things that people get divorced for. Okay, and so like I said, I'd never been in a real relationship prior to him. All of those are like just little test crash dummies, okay? Crash courses. But I had never discussed finances and how somebody can help me, because I'm typically, which a lot of women typically are, the person in the relationship pouring into the other person but not receiving anything back. And so that becomes takers versus reciprocators, okay? Takers, where you're putting everything that you can and everything that you feel like you need to help this person out to be a better them, to be a better unit, but you're not getting anything in return. So you're constantly pouring into this person, but nothing is coming back. You're not getting any ROI, return on investment, right? And I'm not saying that when you're helping somebody that you love that you should be looking for something in return, but if the person that you love loves you back, they are going to want to reciprocate, okay? Reciprocate what you've done for them in some capacity, in whatever capacity that they can help, like help you in, right? And so now being able to confide, like getting over that barrier, getting over that hunch. I didn't tell him everything that I wanted to right then and there, but I got to the point where it was like, you're right. I had to, sit with that, because I've never had this type of conversation with anybody before. And it's a nice change, but it's a change that I wasn't expecting and never had before. So after I sat, dealt with my emotions, we reconvened, and then I sat there, talked to him through it, and it was just so relieving. Like the relief that you feel from being able to trust your partner, whether you're taking a leap out on faith, or you have the evidence that there's somebody that can be trusted with your problems, and somebody that will be able to, or not even able to, but be willing to help you through whatever you're going through. It is the best feeling in the world. So after I kind of got that off to him, like I was now not internalizing so much. I was not always needing to show up as the strong, independent black woman. I started the podcast, and I was able to outwardly discuss my finances with you guys, discuss, my success stories, and, areas in which I know I failed and I should have done better. But you guys, that is where that started from. I am somebody that I don't talk about my problems outwardly. If there's an issue going on, you will never know about it. Okay, now there are still, people that I do and don't discuss things with. Like my parents, I don't discuss hard things with them, because I feel like you've done your part. You've raised me. I've gotten to the place where I am because of you guys. So thank you. Now I need to figure it out. Okay, like there's certain situations where you do need to, kind of wrap in the people that help raise you, because it may not be your biological parents, it may be your, your adopted parents, your legal guardian. So sometimes your grandma, your granddad who's raising you. There may be some times that you need to reach out to them, but you're too prideful because you've gotten me to this point. I don't want to burden you with anymore because now I'm an adult. I don't want to burden you. But learn to gain that confidence in confiding in people. And sometimes it's going to come and bite you in the butt. Sometimes you're going to confide in the wrong people. And some things won't go according to plan. Okay, because monitoring spirits. Some people may throw it back in your face. Watch that. Clock it. Write it down. Take a mental note. Because now I know not to confide in you anymore. Because you took that and used it against me. When I was at my most vulnerable spot in life, I confided in you. And whether I'm still in that vulnerable spot, making my way out of it, or if I've surpassed it and you're trying to humble, like I said, once I do the piece, I need to turn those gestures off when I'm recording. But anyway, if I make it through it and y'all are trying to humble me, that's not humbling. That's trying to embarrass somebody and remind them where they came from, so that they know that you have a certain hold, or you remember when that, like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And that's one of the things that my partner, my fiance, had an issue with before getting in a relationship with me. He didn't want to take my help because he said, well, I've taken help from people before and they kind of just throw it back in my face. I can say I'm not going to do that all I want, which I did. But it's not going to take to somebody that has already had that happen to them until they see that you're not going to do that to them. And you can tell who's good people and who's not. Sometimes you can't, and so it's a lesson learned, but majority of the time you have the discernment to be able to decide who's a good person, who's not a good person, who's good and who's looking out for me versus who's looking for me in order to turn around and report out back to the masses. Okay? So to me, confiding in my partner was very hard, but the just him being able to create that safe and comfortable space for me gave me the confidence to confide in him. And now I feel like I confided him about every darn thing, some things that aren't even important. And I'm like, oh, I don't even know why I told you that. But I'd rather feel that way than to feel the opposite, where I just can't tell you anything. And if I slip up and mention something, it's the end of the world. No, no, thank you, no, thank you. But another part where this, kind of resides with me is we're wanting to, start our family, right? Eventually, sooner rather than later. Okay? But I keep hearing all these things about, what you can and can't do when you have kids. You're not going to be able to travel. You're going to be, this. Oh, when you get a house, you're going to be this. You're going to be house poor. You're going to be all of the things, right? And some of the people that tell me that, they truly, truly, truly only want the best for me. But people can have good intentions, and I don't want to say it's misplaced. I don't want to say it's misplaced whatsoever, because the person that, sometimes tells me some of the things and then other times it's coming from, a family member, they truly only want the best for you. But to what point are people projecting based on where they've been, right? Like, there's a difference between, oh, you're going to do, versus this is what happened to me, so be weary of, right? I think that's my biggest thing with majority of people that like tell me certain things in spaces that I haven't been in, and they are. Uh, I don't like the projecting. My listeners, y'all know I do not do the projecting stuff. I hate the projecting stuff. You can tell me your life experiences without telling me that that is going to be the same thing that I go through. It may be. I'm not saying that I'm too good to go through the same things you're going through. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'd rather my experience be my experience with knowledge that this is a possibility, right? I feel like I think now that I'm talking about it, there's a thin line between projecting and not warning people, but just educating them, right, on some of the things that could happen. I feel like when you're projecting, you're like, okay, this is the situation I've been in. This is what's going to happen to you, regardless of what you try to do to negate that, right? This is what's going to happen because this is what I went through. That's projecting, okay? I feel like educating, telling somebody to be wary of, just trying to let them know, like, this is what you should be looking out for, this is what I went through, and this is how I got to this point. So if you do decide to go down this road, these are some of the things to be weary of in order to negate certain situations and experiences that I've had, right? So projecting, this is what I went through, so you're going to go through it. Educating, this is what happened to me and how I got here. So let me educate you so you can watch out for these things. So I think that's the biggest thing to me. And so, like I said, the biggest areas of where I feel like things have been projected, instead of, educating, which it could be both. I can educate you, but because I'm educating you based on what I went through, you're going to go through this, right? There could be a mixture. It's just you having the knowledge, discernment to understand, okay, at what point are you crossing and teetering and playing in both fields. um so I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying I'm too good to go through anything that anybody else has said, but at a certain degree I start to block stuff out. Because yes, as I hear what you're saying, I just feel like you're maybe projecting. I may go through the same thing. I'm not saying that I won't. I'm not saying that I'm better than now. But I want to gain the opportunity. I want to go through the motions myself to understand it. And I'm not saying go through the motions just like you did if you're trying to educate me, but going through the motions that best suit me and my situation. Okay, the situation you may be in going through certain things may not be the same situation I'm currently in trying to go through things as well, right? And so we may be at different focal points but get to the same, destination, right? Like, so I don't want to say I'm better than thou. Like, please don't take that from, what I'm saying here. But I feel like confiding in my partner regarding the things that I've heard, because I've heard it for so long that I haven't talked to him about it. And so it started to scare me out of the ideas of a house. It started to scare me out of the idea as a child. But I know that's what my partner want. And ultimately, that's what I want. But is it the best decision at the end of the day? I don't know. So, my fiance and I, we had went on a dinner date, and it kind of like set I always feel like whenever we have the time to sit, talk, just be with each other instead of the outside forces, um, kind of just all in our ear in everyday life, just clouding what we really need to be talking about, when we are able to step out of that reality loop and kind of just go on a date and be there together, those are the times that I feel the closest to my partner. And so I was just able to sit there, talk to him about some of the concerns that I started incorporating myself. And it's just like, it's both of us, that person, their relationship and their partner, or this house, this realtor, that lender is always going to be different depending on who else is included in that situation with you. Okay. And so some of the things that I really want to do and I want to, make sure I prioritize when I have a baby or two, is making sure that I travel with my kids, right? Like, a lot of people that have children, they say, oh, well, your life ends when you have a baby. You can't travel as much. You can't do all of the things that you used to do before you had a kid. There are some things that I do now that I want to do when I have a baby. And one of the number one thing that I do truly agree with my best friend is, she says that when you go on vacation with kids, it's just parenting somewhere else. Completely, that it makes sense, right? But I feel like when you don't make travel accustomed to your child, they don't know how to act in certain situations, right? And I'm not bashing her whatsoever. Please don't take that as, this. But that may not be something that she was accustomed to prior to having children, right? So it may feel like a chore now because she never, got to travel as much or maybe as frequently as she wanted to before kids. So it's even harder now because you're trying to travel and on top of introducing your kids to something else and parenting, right? That's a lot. Me and my fiance, one, he's from the Caribbean. So at some point we're going to want to go to the Caribbean so that they could meet, his side of the family. I want to meet his side of the family at some point, right? And so I just feel like for me, travel is such an important thing in my life because I cruise a lot, whether it's 1 to 2 times a year if I can manage it now. But it's just like when I have a child, when we have a child, we're going to make travel accustomed to them at a young age because I feel like once you give somebody the access and get them accustomed to that type of life and that travel, all of the things, they know how to act in certain situations. It's not foreign to them, so now they don't feel like they have to freak out, right? And so I told him also one thing that I want to learn or, kind of learn with my child and help coach them is when we go out to eat. I don't want to be the parent sitting there trying to grasp the reality that my child is acting like a freaking Tasmanian devil, but I'm so restricted as to what I can do because it's in public. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Something that I already know that I'm going to do is we are going to have mock trials. Whatever we do to where it's in public, you are going to learn how to act in public at home. I'm not trying to teach my child how to act in public while we're in public, right? That's like putting your child in the driver's seat and saying, "Okay, now drive." No, it starts at home. Everything starts at home. So if you get them accustomed to the things that you want them to learn and know how to do and how to behave in certain situations, start it at home. And I'm not saying that anybody is a bad parent at all whatsoever. I'm just saying the things that have been told to me, and like the more I think about it, because I have time to think about it before having a child, like now that's the forefront of my mind. Children house, okay? So I have a little bit more time to think of it rather than somebody that just got pregnant and doing all of this and like is learning along the way and didn't have time to think about it before, right? So I have time to think about it. So how do you want to parent? That is how, my conversation with my fiance went. I said, when I want them to be accustomed to traveling. I don't want to have to drag my child through the airport because they don't know how to act in public. Gonna be teaching that at home before we get to a certain place. I don't want to have to restrain myself from beating the heck out of my child in public because they are acting a fool in the restaurant chair or booth. Practice it at home. So before we go out to eat, we're going to have several and I'm not gonna say mock practices like, oh well, what do you do with the gavel, da 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 da, with the belt, da 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 da. No, we're going to have tea times. We're going to have little cookout sessions, whatever. Okay, when mommy and daddy and you go into the restaurant, how do you act? Do we use manners? Do you stand on the chair? Do you stand in the booth? Do you stand on the table? Do you say yes, please, thank you, no, thank you? Treat people how you want them to act. Like, I'm going to raise my child how I want them to act in public. So if it's before we go to a restaurant, we're going through manners and all of those things at home. That way, when we get to these places, I don't have to, come out of character or act like, my child is the worst child in the world because they don't know how to act. Did I give them the right tools and preparation before I put them in this environment? Because since they're a child, they don't know a lot of things. That could be sensory overload. And so, because they feel overloaded, they're spiraling, right? The child's mind, I already know. I could just imagine, is filled with a lot of different things and a lot of things are going on. And so, if they don't know, they won't know how to act. Okay? Loading a plane, the have been calm and quiet and composed during the plane ride. I don't want all that screaming and holler. So the things that I know I won't want, yes, I'm gonna give my child some grace because there's going to be times that they act out, but did you act out because I didn't prepare you, or are you acting out because of something else? Right? You may be sleepy, you may be tired, you may have skipped your nap. Excuse me. You may have skipped your nap. So at this point, you're tired and you're acting out, but it's not because I didn't prepare you, it's because of a different chain of events, which all children will have. I will never fault my children for being children. I'm not trying to say that I'm going to raise them as young adults. I'm just going to teach them how to be well behaved citizens. Okay? So after I discussed all of that with my fiance at dinner, like that relieved so much stress for me because I have just been holding it, which I didn't know I was internalizing and holding on to it until I had that discussion with him. And so I just hope and wish and pray that everybody comes across a partner, whether it's, short lived or whether it's, your lifelong partner. I just hope that everybody can gain the confidence in confiding in your partner because there is so much stress that can be alleviated from that, and stress takes years off your life. Okay, so if you can gain some years back, I want you to. And if confiding in your partner is that one thing that is pushing you over the edge to lose some years off your life, let's fix it. Okay, whether it's sitting down and having certain conversations that set the tone, coming together, like prepare your partner to be in the mindset space to have this conversation. Okay, I know we're having an issue, or I'm having an issue on my side. There's some stuff that I want to say, but I feel like just saying it out of the blue is not fitting for the type of conversation I need. Okay, so I'm gonna text you at the beginning of the day, or we're gonna talk when we get out of bed, depending on your living situation, whether you're with living with that person or not. I'm either gonna text you or we're gonna have a conversation at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, I want to have a serious conversation that gives the other person time to be in a particular headspace that they probably wouldn't be if you just sprung it on them, right? And so once you understand that, okay, I've given this person adequate amount of time to be in a type of headspace to hear what I'm saying, not so much as needing to respond, but just hear what I'm saying in order to help me. Okay, I'm saying I need help. That's all I need. Are you in a capacity where you think you can help me? You can, kind of brainstorm with me to find the answer. In what capacity do you feel like you can help me after I confide in you? Just like, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with that, so I ain't go. No. In what capacity can you assist me? Or help me find the assistance that I need? Okay, beautiful people, but that's all I had for today. Honestly, I was like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? I always want to talk about something that I'm currently going through or working through or something that I realized or noticed. And that's the authenticity part of my podcast. I'm never like just trying to go just based off what I see on social media, like leading my podcast off things that, or, just going through my podcast with only things that I see on social media. How does it pertain to me? Okay, so that way I can speak from some type of situation that kind of may or may not help you guys, right? And if you don't go through the same situation as I do, some of the things that I do say or how I act may help somebody else in a different type of situation that they're in. And so you guys wouldn't get that if I wasn't being authentic with some of the things that I've been through or some of the things that I'm currently going through. And so that's what I pride myself off of on this podcast for sure. It's just my ability to be open, honest, and authentic with you guys. You guys know that is what this podcast stands for. The Pretty Confident Podcast. It truly, truly is not about being perfect. It is honestly about embracing who you truly are. Okay, I say that in my closing. It is I don't know what else to tell you, okay? So that is what I pride myself on. I love the fact that I'm able to be my true authentic self. Like there are some things where it's like, okay, if somebody that I love takes this out of context, how can I kind of reel that in a little bit to let them know that that's not the type of way that I mean stuff, right? So I love you guys. Thank you to the OG listeners for returning week after week after week. Thank you for giving me a chance if you are new here. If you have the confidence or you are trying to gain the confidence to confide in your partner or to those that are close to you, because it doesn't have to be your partner, okay? If you're single and you're trying to learn how to confide in your friends or, your family, your parents after growing up and moving out or whatever, confide in them, right? It's just being able to find the confidence to confide in somebody, whether that's going to therapy or not. But walking around with a chip on your shoulder is not good. I've done it, it's worn me out. And having somebody to share that chip with, or somebody that will completely take that chip off my shoulder, is undescribable. And so I just feel like certain things everybody in life should experience at least once, and that is one of the things. Have the confidence to trust unconditionally somebody that you love, somebody that's close to you, family related or not. I just feel like everybody should experience it at least once. That way, you know that there are going to be times that you don't have to carry everything. Because there are some people that are carrying the world on their shoulders and they feel like there's nobody there that cares enough to help out. But if you're not able to confide in somebody and you're not gaining or building that confidence, you're always going to feel drained. You're always going to feel like there's nobody that is willing to help you because you're not opening your mouth, right? So build that confidence. Get pretty confident in that area if this pertains to you. If you have the confidence in confiding in people, I love that for you because now you know that you don't always have to be the strong black person, the strong black man, woman, uh, whatever race you are. So that is the biggest thing. Your partner is somebody that is helping you through situations, through hardships, and through life. Okay, so I love you guys. I love this podcast corner. You guys, like I said, if you were at the beginning and you've made it to the end, drop another pink heart. Drop 3, 12, however many pink hearts you want to. No, if you make it to the end, drop a podcast mic. How about that? If you obviously stayed at the beginning, you're dropping a pink heart. But if you made it to the end of this visual podcast, drop a podcast mic in the comment section. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing week. I hope you guys steadfast, step forward in everything that you want to do this month and in life. If I don't see you again because you don't come back, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. If you are here and you found a home, welcome home, bestie. How are you? I hope you stay here forever. But you guys, honestly, drop ideas that you want me to talk about in the comments, whether you follow me on Instagram at peeps, all of the things. Reach out, let me know, because I definitely want to still talk about things that you guys need help with, whether that's gaining confidence, gaining trust, motivation, all of the things, okay? So, like my dad always tells me, there's no stupid question except the unasked question, okay? So, if you don't ask, you won't, I can't deliver and you won't receive, okay? So, there's somebody else out here that's listening, watching, that is going through maybe the same thing you're going through or a different version of what you're going through. And because you don't feel like you can bring it up, nobody is getting helped. Okay. So definitely let me know in the comment section or DM me on Instagram if you follow me. But you guys, I love you so much. I love this podcast corner so much. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I love you and I will talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Pretty Confident Podcast. Remember, confidence isn't about perfection, it's about embracing who you truly are. So until next time, stay bold, stay authentic, and stay pretty confident. Peace out.